Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ironis Insights. I have a great guest here today, Shari Rash, uh, the financial planner, founder of GWA Health. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you calling from today to start?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Beautiful, love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And before we get into, what you're doing at GWA, why don't you give us just a little bit of background on, your history and how you got to where you are today?
Sure, yeah. I founded GWA Wealth back in 2019. I've always been in the financial services industry, just more on the corporate side. I represented different product companies, third-party money managers, annuity companies, and I would work with advisors and teach them about our products, give them best practices with their own businesses, and so I did that for 13 plus years and met hundreds and hundreds of advisors, traveled thousands of miles, but I always wanted to have my own firm and run my own practice and have my own clients. So in 2019, I had some major life changes that kind of really made it obvious that I can't be traveling anymore. I had twins, which were my third and fourth children. So I decided to make that pivot and start my own practice and have my own clients.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, congratulations. It sounds like you have a lovely family and you made some sacrifices for them, but ultimately got to do what you wanted to do, right?
Exactly. I mean, it gave me the flexibility where I just did summer camp drop-offs right before I jumped on the call with you versus being in another state and having someone else do it for me. So there's definitely been some sacrifices, a lot of learning with having my own firm, but in all, it's been a blessing.
Yeah, amazing. So you've been doing that since 2019, correct?
Yes.
And how has things progressed for you? I mean, once you leave that corporate world, right? It's you go from corporate, to founder. It's a lot different. You wear many hats. I can relate. So I'm just curious, like, what was your take on it?
It's once you have your own business and you realize, oh, there's no tech department to help me with this. There's no legal team or there's no one making sure I'm, minding my P's and Q's and saying, once you realize that's all you, social media, SEO, like I started to become an expert in SEO as a result. Like once you realize it's all on you, that is, you're not just like, wait, I'm not just helping my clients with their goals and build their wealth. I have to know how to troubleshoot when my email's not sending out on top
Right,
of everything.
right.
That was really eye-opening. And a lot of people don't realize it, how many things can go wrong and how many hats business owners in general wear, not just practice financial planners as far as owning their own practice goes.
Yeah.
But I would say that was probably the biggest adjustment for me was I'm on my own now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's when it hits, right? When you have that first problem, like that tech problem that you never like you always just think, "Oh, let me just call IT." And then it would be you wouldn't even almost think of it. It would be almost automatic. You submit a ticket, you go to lunch, you come back and it's fixed. And
Right.
now it's like, oh, okay, so who do I call?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely tracks. All right, you know what? So you mentioned something interesting, which is SEO. You became an SEO expert. So why don't you expand on that? Like, how are most people finding you today? Because I mean, you're on your own. You just started, right? Where do you go? What
Yeah.
do you do?
So I very much believe in working smarter and not harder.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I spent I've flown thousands of miles, spent thousands of nights in hotel rooms, and I worked really hard for another company. And then come being, when I was 34 years old, I was kind of burnt out. And it was like, that's not it. I'm still very young to be burnt out, but I needed to take all of my lessons and figure out how I can get the most for little, not little effort, but get the biggest bang for my buck, if you will. And one thing I learned is if I can have as many things evergreen as possible, that's better for me. So I was not like a lot of advisors are really pounding the pavement and doing dinner seminars and networking and like that was just not realistic for me. So I'm like, how can I get in front of people that wanted me to be in front of them with effort, but then in the I don't the effort's always the product of my effort is always there.
Mhm.
And really I'm a bit I love I Google everything, I search everything. So it's like, okay, I want to work with people like me, women like me. What do women like me search up? Or what do my clients, potential clients, what are they Googling? And that's really how I started shaping my website, my blogging, is all through what do I think my potential clients are Googling. So then that way I'm working super hard on this blog post and making sure my word choices are correct. And it's stuff that my potential clients are going to research, but then it's there forever. Like I just have a prospect that booked a meeting with me based on a blog I wrote years ago, but they found me through what they were looking up. So that's a way that and it's free. It's just the cost of my time and it's there forever. So that's how I became really familiar with SEO and how to maximize my online presence with as minimal effort.
Yeah. I mean that is one of the smartest things you can do now. It is actually blog posts. I use them as well. It's and now you can leverage different tools to help you, right? With these different tools and AI and whatnot to help with these tasks. Now, you don't want to sound like you're putting out AI slop out there, so you have to, like you said, you tweak the word choice, you make sure exactly what you're putting out there is quality content because that's what will really gain some people's interest. Now, you mentioned something really interesting is like you wanted you naturally found your client base to potentially be women like you. So like what made you go after that? Because you're just obviously you're familiar with yourself, right? So you is that what just made you start there?
Well, I realized growing up in financial services, graduating with a finance degree, it
Yeah.
kind of hit me like on my graduation day when I was standing there in my cap and gown. I'm all excited. I'm like, okay, where are my friends? And I didn't have any friends around me because they were all in different schools. They
Mm,
all had different majors than me. I was the only finance major or
uh-huh.
business major out of my friends.
Right.
And I'm like, oh wow, like I don't know anyone here. And that first was like the first thing that was like, oh, okay. And so kind of a light bulb went off. And then as I worked in financial services, I realized like in a meeting, I was the only female. I was the only young female in the room as well. And then in it wouldn't be uncommon for me to go to conferences and there's a sea of blue and black suits and I'm in there wearing a red suit, and so it was my norm and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in the minority, but it also I realized that there weren't a lot of people that spoke my language that I couldn't relate to. And then when I became a planner, it's same story. I mean, only 16 to 18% of financial advisors are female. So
Hmm.
if a female is searching for someone like them, quote unquote, first, they only have a 16 to 18% chance that they're going to find a female. But then that doesn't even mean we're similar just because we're the same gender.
Right.
So
Right.
then, so it just kept on boiling down and I realized through my experience and through my research that men and women speak very differently when it comes to money. And I learned that also, I experienced that when I was working with advisors, helping them with their businesses. And it was like, kind of like, do you even hear what I'm saying? Or like, you're saying one thing and I'm saying something different. And so I really wanted to understand the way women thought about money because it was likely similar to me. And I'm generalizing,
Hmm.
but women in general think about what money can do for them where men think about money of accumulation and performance and growth and how's my stock performing.
Hmm.
And that's two very different conversations.
Hmm.
So then when I was and when I started my business, another advisor was retiring, so I ended up taking over his client book. So that really helped springboard me into my practice. And again, it was the conversations were very different that I was having between men and women. And because I grew up in financial services, I was able to talk both talks because I
Hmm.
had to. But again, I was realizing how different it was. And I was like, man, like, women are don't feel like they have somewhere to go to talk about money. And that's where I really started to focus on. I want to help women, but specifically single women, because single women really don't have anyone to talk to about their money because married women have their husbands or partners to talk to about money. And most of the time, the male handles the money anyway. But single women don't have that. Who do they have? Their dad or their uncle or a brother who's speaking a completely different language than them. So in turn, it just makes them feel overwhelmed or less than, or like, I'm never going to understand this.
Wow. I mean, from your story, I can just picture you at graduation and being like, I'm so excited. Like, and then like, oh, wait, where are my friends? You painted a perfect picture. And it's very true. Like, I mean, like I live in New York, right? And you walk around Midtown and the finance bros are around, right? It's just you, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I could totally picture you in that red suit like dress nice and then all the in the sea of blue and black and vests going on and that's
Yes.
it's but I tell you what, I mean, you really I have to commend you because you realized very very quickly that there's a niche that is not properly being cared for, and not only that, but you can focus on that but also still speak the language of everyone else, right? So it's like a two-pronged approach here that you have the skill set for.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I can talk the talk with the bros all day long. I don't want to. I choose
Yeah.
not to as much as I can. I try to avoid it. But I can if I need to. So, sometimes there are well-meaning fathers or uncles that get involved in the conversation, and I can just
Hmm.
pivot and
Right.
answer the questions that they have the concerns about and talk the performance and the stock and this and that and all the other, but at the same time then turn to my client and say, and this is why this is going to achieve your goal, and this is how we're going to achieve your goals. So it is nice that I've had the experience for so long that I can talk both, but I much prefer the goals focused conversations with my clients because that's what's keeping them up at night versus, is my portfolio performing in line with the S&P 500? No one's
Right.
thinking about that.
Right, right. I mean, you mentioned, when speaking from a woman's perspective, that they may not have like someone to speak to about their finances, or if they do, it's their husband, and they speak two different languages regarding money, and they just view it differently. And I actually I agree. I think men and women's brains are definitely wired differently when it comes to money, especially, and I think there's definitely you have something there. So. What have you found that's some of the biggest financial challenges like you see women facing today?
One, the the need here, this is what I struggle with. What I'm seeing a lot of women now are, I'm working with clients that are go-getters. They want this information. They want to understand it. They want to understand their money, which is awesome and great. And the problem is there's a lot of talking heads out there that are giving women this information, and they're making it sound like all of this is easy peasy. Like, go ahead, go pick that ETF, go pick that stock, set up your account, and you're good. And then so then because women want to understand everything, they want to be super educated in the decisions that they're making. They're then analyzing these ETFs. They're then looking up these stocks. And a couple of things happen, but like analysis paralysis occurs first because they want to be experts in this because they're told by their podcast or the article they read or whatever that they can do it. And so then they say, "Oh, well, if they say I can do it, I can do it." And they start researching it, and they get stuck and overwhelmed, and they give up, and they think it's like a reflection of them. Well, I'm just never going to get it. So that's one challenge, is that there's so much information, but the information is also telling them, "Oh, this is no big deal. Anyone can do it. You can do it."
Mm,
And which I have personal beef with that, because it's like, no, this is my whole career has been studying this. This is what I went to my education in. Like, no, it's not that easy. Like there is, so that's where I also struggle, because it's like it can be simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. And so I think that's a challenge for women. And then another challenge for women is that they don't have the resources to that they need, or they don't have someone to talk to about money. Like I just got off a phone call with one of my clients that is looking to switch jobs. She was approached by a new company, and she was just talking out like her salary package and what they're presenting to her, and is this equivalent to what I have right now? And it's like, she's single. She could talk to someone else about it, but she's talking to me because I understand her goals. I understand what she wants to achieve. I know her temperament. I know her spending. I know everything about her financially. So, but a lot of women may say, go to a well-meaning family member, and oh, that's so much money. How do you need more than that? Or, how could you spend that much money? And it becomes more of a shame thing versus like, here's the facts. Let's take the facts and make educated decisions with it.
I mean, that's what a valuable relationship for someone to have. I mean, literally, you just killed it because you just said you take the emotion out of it, right? You're not going to judge them.
Yeah,
That's huge.
absolutely.
I mean, I think that's what a lot, and men and women might speak different language, right? But when it comes to that conversation with their husband, maybe they just don't want to have it also.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't want to talk about what they're spending, or just maybe uncomfortable about what they're making or what their goals are. And having someone like you, I mean, that's got to make you feel great when you get that call.
It is. It's incredibly rewarding to know,
Yeah.
like, and I position myself that way. And I say to my prospective clients, like, go interview advisors, interview a couple of them, like go
Mhm.
on a first date with them. You're gonna get a vibe, because you better like them or like me, because when something big happens in your life, I should be one of the first calls, because likely when something big happens, there is a financial element to it. So,
Mhm.
like, if you don't like your advisor enough to call him or her to tell them about this, that's a problem. So yeah, it means that, they are obviously they see value in what we do, and like me and trust me, and can confide in me, and help me, and I can help them with these major life decisions. So it's awesome. And to your comment about like a wife may not be feel comfortable going to her husband, and because of the spending or whatever, and that we could have a whole nother podcast episode, but it's even the values, like you may not value spending your money on the same things as your
Correct.
partner.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's like, then that's probably one of the biggest arguments, is like, you both partners may spend the same amount of money, but if
Yeah.
each other look at it as frivolous because it's not what they value, they're never going to get on the same page.
Right. I like going out to eat and spending a bunch of money on fancy dinners. Maybe my partner likes to buy that purse she wants, and
Yes.
that's they're both fine, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, yeah, I could totally see it's exactly where you're going with that, and we definitely could have another whole
Yeah.
podcast on
Yeah.
that.
It happens in my house regularly, that conversation.
I'm sure. I'm sure. That's awesome. Okay, so it sounds like you nailed your niche and you're really killing it with your clients. Obviously, you can really just relate to them on a personal level. Congratulations, by the way, on your success so far. I mean, it sounds like your things are rocking and rolling.
Thank
Now,
you.
you mentioned you have these blogs which are great, and you've been, working with SEO, and the fact that someone found a blog that you've had, like you said, it lives on the internet for a few years, and then you get a lead from that, you're probably like, hell yeah, I'm glad I posted that. And but so where's the majority of the business coming from? right
Yeah,
now?
so a lot of it is coming from, someone Googling something and
Really?
finding me that way.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I am getting a lot of business that way. Like
Nice.
most people, small businesses, I'm getting a lot through referrals,
Yeah.
um, which is wonderful. So referrals are big. And then there's uh, um, a network called Willow, and Willow, they're essentially a matchmaker for women to find an advisor. So I'm a approved advisor on their in their system as well. So that's how a lot of clients will find me as well.
That's a very cool resource. Nice. So you're plugged in. That's great. So has that changed over the years when you first started in 2019 to now to like where the clients are coming from, or how has that evolved kind of?
It's been pretty consistent through these those three um, sources. So, like I said, I'm a terrible networker. I
Yeah.
don't have the energy for it. Like I just know my strengths and weaknesses, and I'm just not good at networking.
Yeah.
So, it's been pretty consistent that way, I will say. And I think a lot of us fall victim to this is like in the referrals, like we need to get better at asking for introductions. I'm
Mhm.
not good at that. So I know what I'm good at and what I need to work on, but getting better at asking, using my clients, and this is going to be a focus for the second half of the year for me, is using my clients as a sounding board. So bringing clients together and what has your experience been like? What's good? What could be improved on? And just having them be a board of directors for me and holding the mirror up for me and what is good and what can be improved and then in turn asking for more introductions that way also. But I mean, yes, I get referrals and it's through no effort on my part. So if I just put a little bit more effort into it, it'd probably be even more fruitful for me.
Right. I mean, referral is the best compliment you can receive, right?
Right.
Especially, yeah, ones that you don't work for are the best ones, right? They come out of the blue, like, oh, by the way,
Yes.
that's always the best feeling here. Well, it sounds like you got a lot of things rolling. What if you had a magic wand right now and you could just fix one thing? What do you think you would do?
Ooh. Well, I think I I need to, I'm a one person shop literally. So I don't have an assistant. I do everything myself. And so if I could have a magic wand, I would get someone that can keep up with me and would could really be my right arm. That I think would be a game changer. The unicorn I haven't been able to find that unicorn yet. But I think that would be, that would really make things a lot different for me.
What would you need them to help you with, mainly?
See, that's the thing. I think I'm like a lot of business owners where it's like shiny object syndrome. So they would need to keep up with me and my ideas.
Hmm.
But it would be, it's the administrative stuff. But then some weeks it's not administrative. Some weeks it's like, okay, let's come up with, blog posts or podcast episodes or, how to get me out there. So then start networking me that way. Um, or recording videos, doing like the reels and all of that, which like I have no energy or interest in doing that, but it's like, yeah, someone that could like also know social media but then also
Yeah.
knows financial services, so can talk the talk a little bit. So it really, I had a unicorn for a while and she did awesome work for me, and then she then moved on and started her own business
Yeah.
and it was great. But that, I think, having someone that you can trust and knows the way you operate and is really vested in your success
Yeah.
in your business is so invaluable.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, I hope you do find that unicorn. Good luck finding someone that can keep up with you, by the way, because you're running a million miles a minute and you're clearly doing really well. congrats on all of your success. Where can the audience find you and your firm?
Yeah, so my website's gwawealth.com. So you can check me out there. I also have a podcast called Everyone's Talking Money. So that's where it's just, a lot of behavioral finance, best practices as far as money goes. I release 2 episodes a week there. And then also on Instagram at Everyone's Talking Money.
Love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.